Thank you for having me here. I'm happy to be doing this presentation. And as we all know, landscaping has a lot of benefits and brings us a lot of joy. The beauty of plants, the oxygen they emit into the atmosphere, the shade trees can give, and save on cooling costs for a home. There are all these benefits, but I'm kind of challenging the notion that all landscaping is beneficial. There definitely can be practices just as inside the home, outside the home, that we can contribute and harm the environment, or we can aid in helping it. So I got this right off the website of the United States Environmental Protection Agency. And it states that if classified as a crop, just lawns would rank as the 5th largest in the country on the basis of area after corn, Anyway, we're applying tremendous amounts of fertilizers and pesticides, herbicides to lawn, and a lot of that ends up in our watershed, in the groundwater, and that is something that not enough people think about. So that actually, I have a handout that I'm going to leave some up front, and it has this and the summary slide on it in case you're interested in it. We can reduce these fertilizer applications, we can reduce water use, we can mulch the clippings, there are a lot of things we can do. But I'm not just going to talk about lawn. I'm going through and just giving you some, basically, some different aids of what you can do to make your garden more environmentally friendly and still really create enjoyable spaces. There's a lot of talk about native plants. The plants really don't have to be native, they have to be appropriate. That's kind of my opinion. I create a lot of plant habitats where the plants have similar water needs and soil requirements, and they basically form a plant community that will be really low maintenance, and so it doesn't necessarily have to be native. Not all native plants are low maintenance or appropriate. This is a picture I took in Germany, in Hamburg. That's the city I was raised in and grew up in. And they do a lot of sustainable landscaping. This is a very natural park that was created as at an old gas works. There are now commercial buildings and a hotel and everything, and that's the park in the center. The buildings are all the way built around it in a horseshoe shape. And this is right here in Hood River, Waterfront Park, designed by Greenworks from Portland. And as you know, it's a very natural-looking park. There are obviously weeds, but there are a lot of native plants. It's very natural. It attracts a lot of people, and I think it's very appropriate. This is another picture I took. People really enjoying it. A lot of kiters and windsurfers. Then this is a garden that was designed by Larry Tamiyasu out of Portland that we visited, and you can see how the landscaping kind of seamlessly transitions into the surroundings. The Wind River is down below to your right, and the landscaping is intentionally kept very natural so that it doesn't like stand out. It's just sort of, it's decorative and it's enjoyable, but it blends with the surroundings instead of just standing out and being jarring. This is the front of the home. This is like way up in Carson, up to where the fish hatchery is there on Wind River Road, way off in the boonies. Wolfgang Oehme, who just passed away a couple of years ago, he and James Van Sweden were the ones who kind of implemented or started the New American Garden using a lot of ornamental grasses. Wolfgang Oehme obviously was from Germany, and actually Karl Förster, if any of you are gardeners, was kind of the father of using ornamental grasses and naturalistic plants in the garden. And the joke is actually that a lot of the prairie plants, a lot of the American perennials went to Germany, got an education, and then came back. So they bred and developed new cultivars, but actually of those prairie plants, the phlox, the heleniums, a lot of those plants that we know, and they have German names, and we translate them into English, but originally they came from here. This is Piet Oudolf. Again, any of you who are gardeners, I talk about him a lot. He's from Holland. By now he's internationally famous. He did the High Line in New York, if you guys know that. He did a lot of the gardens there. He did Penthorpe in Pennsylvania, a lot of gardens in the United States, all over the world. He's worked, and that is his style. And he's actually now getting more towards doing ecological design. He kind of combined his plants more based on aesthetic aspects at first, and now he's really been influenced by some of the people that are doing more that ecological planting design, which really is a more organic approach. And I have always been an organic gardener, and when I first started, I had to talk a lot of people into it. They were a number of people where I had to keep it really quiet because I was considered a tree hugger. I'm sure you all know how that used to be 25 years ago, 30 years ago. And now people want it. They're asking for it. I don't have to explain it. A lot of us don't anymore. And it's really exciting, but times used to be very different, and I'm really excited about this development that people are paying attention to what they're doing to the environment with the landscaping. This is a landscape that I designed together with Jackie Barone for Willow Ponds. It's a residential development at the corner of May Street and Frankton here in Hood River. That is inside. It's along Nina Lane. A lot of grasses, shrubs, very low maintenance. This is the front in the fall. It changes all the time. I'm sure there are some of you who have driven by there. It's a rather large landscape. It's very natural. It changes over the course of the year. I like to do year-round landscaping where there's always something of interest, whether it's grasses or bark or fruit, fall color, that kind of thing. This is another large landscape we did along on Methodist, actually, on the west side of Hood River. Again, very natural. It's all man-made, but it sort of blends with the surroundings that are there and is, pretty low-key. This is at my place. Those are our stock beds. Again, they're more ornamental decorative plants, but nonetheless fairly natural-looking, a lot of ornamental grasses, and a lot of those famous American prairie plants that got that education in Germany. We can do a lot of things to filtrate the water as it comes off the buildings. There's permeable paving, there are rain gardens. I'm going through this pretty quickly because I'm supposed to only talk 5 minutes, and they're probably up. But as we all know, there's a lot green roofs for buildings, a lot we can do. This is in Portland, in the Pearl District. All the rainwater of the gutters gets collected and filtered in these planters. You see one to the right there that comes up a gutter and goes into that planter with the drain rock, and then there's, I'm sure, a drain tile and everything underneath it, but it doesn't go into the stormwater system directly. Then there are roof gardens. This is also in Portland at the Oregon Health and Science University building on top. Then this is the Multnomah County building on top. A wildflower meadow, again, very natural, but the whole idea is that as the rain comes down, that a lot of that gets soaked up by the plantings, or it slows down the flow of the water and also cleans it and filters it. This is 10th Street Rain Gardens in Lake Oswego was a project that it was a very steep road before the water just was gushing down, and now it kind of, again, gets filtered and slowed down in these kind of rills and bioswales. This is a small garden that we actually won an award for that has a dry well and a dry creek bed that catches all the water from the gutters. It does not go to the street. And then there are a number of things you can do with irrigation. Obviously, you can water less often, less frequently, and deeper once the plants have been established. You can use controllers that have rain sensors that measure the soil moisture and therefore water less often and appropriately, and use less water. And you can retain a lot more moisture and nutrients by preparing the soil and amending it, adding organic matter. And therefore, it holds a lot of the nutrients and they don't get released into the groundwater. And also you need to water less often if you have more organic matter in your soil. And you can berm to create privacy and defines the landscape, but also you want to avoid erosion, obviously, so you don't want to have a lot of slopes and you want to terrace your slopes and really feed the soil food web. I'm going to go over this quickly, but there's a whole soil food web, where basically the microorganisms and the fauna in the soil is what actually feeds the plant roots. It's an indirect approach, and that's what you do by organic fertilizing and adding organic matter, where you, the soil life actually provides for the plant roots versus applying synthetic fertilizer and hoping that the plant roots absorb most of that before it leaches out and goes further and does harm to the environment. You can do raised bed gardening. These are the raised beds, the kitchen garden at Sakura Ridge Farm and Lodge, where we also actually received an award. And that is very intense and very economical in the long run. Obviously, at first you're using lumber. In this case, this is cedar, rough-cut cedar from Canada. But they will last for a long time. They're lined and they have wire on the bottom, so the gophers and moles can't get in. A really good, well-draining soil mix that you only add a little bit of chicken manure, and otherwise you can use it for many, many years, and you can rotate your crops and grow 3 or 4 crops a year with it. So get off the grass, reduce your lawn, use appropriate grasses, use seed lawn grasses types that use less water, or ornamental grasses like fescue that look like lawn, that are close to that, more ground cover. Use organic fertilizer. We use all organic fertilizer always. We never have used anything else. There are a lot of different choices. This is from the website of Planet Natural, which is my favorite source for natural pest control, beneficial nematodes, lace wing larvae for aphid control in the spring. If they're out of Montana, and it's a wonderful company. I just actually ordered from them today. And they have a really good catalog, so if you want to find out more about biological controls and organic fertilizer, they definitely are a good source. So it's Planet Natural. Just did an advertisement. So in summary, use appropriate plants, whether they're native or whether they just all form a good plant habitat. Make sure that the plants are disease resistant, so you don't have to use a lot of controls, but if you do, use biological controls, conserve the water, retain it, water less frequently but deeply once the plants are established, fertilize organically, amend your soil, reduce lawn, and practice organic raised bed vegetable gardening. And again, this is on the handout, and I will leave some of the handouts up front if you're interested. Thank you for having me.